Myth number 4, competition, the great motivator. Again, I'm very highly motivated by competition. Those of us who become teachers, for the most part, we become teachers because we were successful in a traditional setting. The problem with competition is it is only motivating if you have a chance at winning. Again, made every mistake possible. One of the things, I was a world language teacher, one of the things I used to do, you got to do worksheets. I'm sorry. You got to learn how to conjugate the verbs and you got to get the practice, and it's painful, I know, but you got to do it. So I tried to spice it up. And one way that I would try and spice it up is I would have whatever the worksheet was, they could work in pairs, and they would come up to me. I was sitting at my desk, and they would come to me when they thought they had a complete and correct paper. And so I would end up with a line of kids, and as I'm going through, I would mark the ones that were incorrect. They would go back, they had to fix it and come up. And the first pair that had a completely correct paper got to, first of all, they won, yay! Second of all, they got to teach the class the next day. I would give them a lesson and they would teach the class. I thought that was incredibly creative. I would release the responsibility and everything. And then there were kids, probably a third of the class, who sat there very unengaged. They had it in front of them and they were just waiting for someone to get it all right, And so now, after I started looking into motivation, I'm like, wow, I made all kinds of mistakes there. Number one, if you don't, and those kids, and it was very true, there were kids who didn't have a chance of winning. There were kids who struggled with the material. And so why bother? I had turned it into a competition about winning as opposed to about learning. So not only were they totally unmotivated by the competition part of it, but really not everyone likes to stand up in front of a crowd. I mean, obviously incredibly motivating to me, but a solid half of the class, they didn't want to win. Even if they could do it, there was no way they wanted to win. Again, I had a one-size-fits-all for motivation. And as I went along, there's all sorts of creative things that you can do. You know how we have the teacher chairs, nice and comfy, and the kids, there's always one kid who wants to sit in it, or you walk in the room, the kid's sitting in the chair. My response always is, when you have your bachelor's degree, you can sit in that chair. Right now, you get the hard one. But I used to if you get an A on a quiz, you can sit in the chair. And so for some kids, that was very motivating. So there are there's different ways to motivate for different kids. If that's what someone wants, that's what they get. I directed a school play once, and for some bizarre reason, I had a wig in my classroom. I had a bunch of ridiculous things. Middle school teacher at heart. I taught a lot of high school, but middle school teacher at heart. And I had this blonde wig. For some reason, the boys loved wearing it. And to make that even more bizarre, it was, for the most part, the African-American boys who enjoyed wearing it. It's like, you look fairly ridiculous, but go ahead, And it was motivating to them. Can I wear the wig? Well, you're not sitting in your seat. You really haven't been all of that. And it was motivating to them.